Okay, so let's start. Good evening, everybody. This is your host, Suhasini from Decode Inspired Living, and we are back with yet another episode on Lead Her Ship. And this is episode 7. And we have a wonderful guest speaker today who is going to just charm you out of her thoughts. I mean, such a sharp thinker I've never met before, frankly. So, introducing Tanu Priya with all of you. I'm going to share a brief introduction about Tanu Priya. With almost a decade of experience at sales, Bokaro Steel Plant, Tanu Priya has honed versatile skill set spanning talent management, learning and development, and a keen commercial acumen, notably in procurement. And that is something that I find very interesting and very different in all the people. And presently, Tanu spearheads procurement operations for the steel melting shop, ensuring timely acquisition of. Let me see. Crucial mechanical spares, pipes, and packaging materials. And this is even more interesting. Prior to her tenure at the Bokaro Steel Plant, Tanu enriched her analytical prowess as a business analyst with the prominent Big Four consulting firm for approximately 2 years, which was Deloitte Consulting. So
Right.
now, Tanu, welcome to the show. It's an honor to have you here, honor and privilege both. Let's see
Thank you
what
so much.
unfolds out here.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Okay, so I'm going to go right with shooting questions at Tanu, and it's not a rapid fire, so it's okay. But Tanu, very much interested in your journey and most importantly to the shift in procurement because that is something very unique. So, how did you go about that?
Actually, look, like I mentioned before, I have been in HR for almost 10 years in Steel Authority itself. And prior to that, I was in the consulting space. So, in Steel Authority, I would say I had the privilege to work across almost all domains of HR, be it training and development, talent management, recruitment, CSR. So, I had seen it all. And then, I think it was a logical progression. I felt that if you want to like rise in the hierarchy, you need to have some kind of an understanding of the balance sheet as well. In the HR side, HR is generally seen as the soft side and the people side of things. So once I had developed that acumen, I wanted to get some commercial acumen as well, because I also firmly believe that it will help you, firm your place in the organizational hierarchy, and you'll be seen as someone who can add more value. So I wanted to broaden my expertise, and hence I moved to procurement. Fortunately, my organization allowed me this move. I'll not say it came easy. There was a lot of convincing that I had to do, but again, I was really fortunate. I had lots of seniors who were very supportive and made this change happen for me. So yeah, it kind of, and again, I'm moving to marketing now. So I think
Wow.
I've started in marketing next week onwards. So again, this is something which what I have learned is you go out there and keep asking for work. And today or tomorrow, people are going to give it to you. And when you ask for something new, initially people might feel a little inhibited, but then, they like the spirit, I guess. And you'll find people who will encourage you to take those risks. So
How do
it
you make
happens.
yourself so capable that you just want to have cross functional expertise and exposure across various domains?
I think it's the other way around. I am becoming more capable by getting these, expertise and these kind of experiences. So the primary reason when I went and told people I want to move to procurement was I told them that I think I'm hitting a ceiling here. I have done it all. And since I'm in the mid management area right now, I told them I would come back to HR as a senior management. Now I've seen it all. In the mid management, this is the time when I can go out to some other, commercial function or a support function and learn more. And if I come back to HR, I'll make a better HR this time. I'll be able to head it in a better way. So kind of that helps. And I think, becoming more capable every single time I'm making that switch. So every 2 or 3 years, I have given myself this time frame that as long as I'm in the mid management, every 2 or 3 years, I'm going to try something new. So that when I hit the senior management thing, I'll be a better senior manager given my exposure across areas.
Wow. What does it take to keep making these shifts? Because as I see in you, you look at your career as a jungle gym, it's not something like I have to make a lateral move or I have to make a vertical move. It's more like a jungle gym. I'll do this, I'll do this, I'll do that. And then I'll just become better in whatever I do with a complete all-round holistic exposure. What is the kind of mindset that you actually need to make these kind of
I'll
shifts?
What triggered it was that in a few of these steel companies, I saw that a lot of people who were coming in as head of HR had a lot of experience in other areas also. And when I spoke to seniors and when I spoke to like really senior management in these other steel companies, I realized that they prefer people or they want people to have exposure in different functions because they think that makes you a better people leader. So that is what prompted me that yes, this is my time. I need to get kind of as much knowledge and experience as possible. And I think asking for it, the more you ask for things, the more people like when you ask for work. That's what I've realized. So when you ask for work, sooner or later people kind of make those opportunities available to you. So I think I've been asking for it relentlessly and it pays off.
Wow. So keep raising your hand every time there is a new opportunity in the
Absolutely, yes.
organization.
Yeah, whenever I see a manpower crunch somewhere, there were procurement was in need of people, and I said I'm here to volunteer. I'm going to work in procurement. Then I said I worked in procurement. I've understood these things. I'll be a better person in marketing now. I have some understanding of reverse auction. Let me do forward auction now. So yeah, every time there is a vacancy, I raise my hand. I'm there.
Wow. A terrific example of growth mindset. I mean,
Thank you.
every single day you are learning, every single day you are delivering. And I mean, what more does an organization need? And how does the organization respond to your request of raising your hand and giving the opportunity to you, knowing that you are not an expert at it?
Yeah, I would say that I wouldn't say that it's always all very rosy and everything. Sometimes, like I said, there's a lot of convincing that you need to do. But because what helps is even when I was in HR, I was always volunteering for cross-functional projects. So I built my network outside my own domain as well. So when I was wanting to move to procurement, there were people in procurement already who had worked on some project with me earlier. So they had some understanding of what capability I had. So I had some credibility with them. So that helped. So whenever you are somewhere, do not restrict yourself to the domain that you are in. Try to get involved in cross-functional projects, especially in companies like ours, a manufacturing setup or a company which has all kinds of operations happening, which is not a consulting space exactly. So in that kind of a setup, it pays to be a part of cross-functional projects. Build your network. People will know you for your potential, and then when they see a vacancy happening, and if you're interested, they'll pull you in. So that's how it works. But yes, it's difficult. People have some resistance also when you're trying to bring a new person into a who does not belong to that particular area per se. But like I said, it's a trade-off. You win some, you lose some.
So you highlighted an important skill for especially women to have. One is create networks across the organization, inside the organization, outside the organization, and
Absolutely
build allies which you
true.
can leverage when the time is right.
True. It's true for everyone, but I think more so for women because I think since we are still coming up in bigger numbers now, our representation is still not as much as we desire. So I think having your own allies, having your mentors and supporters and sponsors is going to help.
And why do you think there is a broken rung? I mean, what according to you contributes to the broken rung the most?
I think there are internal factors and there are external factors. So, I mean, I'll first look at the internal factors. I think we as women also have this confidence gap. Okay, sometimes, for instance, like right now, I'm returning from maternity. So, when I returned from maternity, whenever somebody asked me about my maternity period, I became very apologetic. I saw it as an absence from work until somebody pointed it out to me that don't downplay the period that you have spent away from work. You have learned some very crucial skills. Okay, you are a better manager now that you return to work. And every time I spoke about my maternity, I was like, I've been away from work for 6 months. So we don't have to be apologetic. We have to kind of own our potential, own our capabilities with confidence. So that confidence gap, we have to narrow it down. Second, I would say because of so many reasons, both social, personal, sometimes we kind of get very comfortable in our own space because we have so many family responsibilities and other responsibilities to manage. Often women get very comfortable. And I know it's more difficult for us, but let us try to get out of our comfort zone. And because the biological clock and the career clock is in sharp contrast, so getting out of this comfort zone will be slightly more difficult for women than it is for men. But I think we need to get out. So these are the internal factors that stop us from making these moves. There are some external challenges as well. For instance, like I'm always talking about from maternity perspective because I'm a mother who's just returned to work. Sometimes even in their best interest in mind, men tend to, or people at work tend to treat you softer. They want to
Hmm.
go easy on you when you have returned from work, and they are not acting out of some negative intention. They have your positive, the best interests in mind, but that is how they want to deal with it, because that is how they feel about you, that you need things easy, you need things slow down. So I think we women, when we return to work, we might not be able to do it with the same momentum, but we can do it in a more strategic manner. So we have to play the game. Our speed might have slowed down a little, but of course we can make it more strategic. So these are some internal and external challenges that I think is there, which is kind of making the broken rung happen. Because these maternity and all these career shifts happen at a time when you are just entering the management cadre. So kind of becomes more difficult for us at that time. So these factors are contributing, but I think more and more women are now normalizing these things and pushing the envelope for other women as well.
Hmm. Yeah, you actually highlighted a very important point that we get apologetic for being absent from work. And I
True.
could relate to that so much. I could actually relate to that because it's not just maternity. Like somewhere I feel that even when we take long sick leaves, or when we don't really think about privilege leaves or like that, because we are generally vacationing when we take our PLs, but generally when we take long sick leaves, right, there is an inherent tendency to think that, oh, I have not contributed to work, I have been away
Right.
from work for so much time. Somewhere even the fact that you have not been well, that also takes a back seat, and then we are thinking,
Right.
you can call it our commitment levels are very high. Okay, it's a good thing to say,
Yeah,
to see it
absolutely.
in
Women
positive
are some of
light.
the best employees that an organization can have. Our sincerity levels are generally higher as compared to others. But like you said, we have to stop being apologetic. It's not working for us. So we have to own everything, all our decisions, all our life experiences. We have to own it all.
So tell me, what were some of the decisions that you had to own when you started to make a mark during your second innings?
For instance, when I got back and I wanted to move to marketing, so before I got back, while I was on leave, I started connecting with my seniors that, I'm getting back, but I've been almost for 2, 3 years in procurement, and now I want to see something different. And they were like, "Are you sure? Because you are just returning as a new mother and you want to make this shift." And I was like, "Yes, I will manage." And I think setting your expectations straight is very important with your colleagues and your seniors. Okay. So I would always be very upfront about it, because sometimes people don't say it out aloud, but they kind of start questioning your commitment and productivity levels when you return to work. So I had to always assure them, and I was like okay with it, because I understand where they are coming from. So I am okay going out there and telling them that no, I will be available in the hours that I am there. I'll be productive. I'll give in my efforts to learn a new thing. And at the home front, of course, I learned to juggle things better. And what I realized is that you even if somebody was a perfectionist before, they will have to make a subtle compromise once they become mothers. You can't be the best at everything. So done is better than perfect. Right now, that's my philosophy. So yeah,
I
that's
just
what's working
loved
for
it.
me.
Done is better than perfect. That something is going
Not
to
me, that's
stay in
Sheryl
my
Sandberg.
mind.
That's Sheryl Sandberg, but it kind of stayed with me. It's such a powerful thing that, and I think it helps women. We are inborn perfectionists. We want to be a brilliant mother, a brilliant employee, everything. So sometimes you just need to be happy with getting things done, and that kind of gives you a lot of mental peace.
And do you face any guilt either from yourself or because of the expectations that others hold for you, saying that when you think done is better than perfect, but if people around you don't think that way, then how do you deal with it, especially the close loved ones or anybody?
True, because I think that is where our spouses play a very big role, how supportive they are. But I think we as women, we make our own lives difficult at times because we have so much of our expectations from ourselves as a mother. So when I get back home, yes, of course, I feel guilty. But then, like I said, perhaps we all are like the first or second generation of working women in our respective families. So we are kind of setting the new normal in our families. Perhaps like in my family, I'm the first generation of working women. In some, there might be second, very rarely a third or a fourth generation. So I think we are creating the new normal. So I always tell myself that it is up to me to push the envelope both at home and at work. So let us set the agenda. Let us normalize maternity, motherhood in this new world, in the new way. So I think I see it more as a responsibility. So guilt doesn't set in as much. And of course, support from family matters. But yeah, there are days when it is difficult. But I guess everybody has a difficult conversation with themselves and with other people every single day. And you kind of have to take it in the spirit of things and move ahead in life.
So this reminds me of something that if you have one thing straight in place, which is career intentionality, saying that I want to be here, then
Yes.
somehow you can manage all the pieces around it in a way which is manageable. I mean,
Yeah.
it will keep the vehicle moving somehow
Like
with
I
that
tell you,
career
when I
intentionality.
absolutely, like you said, career intentionality. Now, this is something which helped me also because when I was returning to work, there was a time when my daughter is a preterm, okay, and although my maternity leave ended at 6 months, I was still thinking that since because she was not exactly as fully grown as an ideal 6 month baby would be, so I was thinking that I should perhaps take go on leave without pay and spend more time at home, and but then like you said, career intentionality. That is when it occurred to me that I can't do this forever. I have to get back to work. For whatever reasons, I need to get back to work. Sooner or later, I will have to. And I have to build a supportive ecosystem which will take care of things at home when I'm not there. So, whether I do it today or I do it tomorrow, I got to do it. And this intentionality, this deliberate, conscious decision making within oneself that yes, I have to be a career woman and I have to be a mother helps. Okay, because you want to set the right example for your child as well. So, yeah, I hope years later I'll be able to tell my child that yes, I tried my best to manage both the things as well as I could.
Oh yeah, so true. In fact, we are sending so many silent signals to our loved ones and especially our daughters and children, right, as to what is acceptable and what is not, because
Absolutely.
literally they are going to absorb all these silent signals which we may be doing unconsciously, maybe because
True.
of our past conditioning. That's how maybe our mothers dealt with it, and somehow we keep passing on those signals to the next generation as well, and they start imbibing it from such a young age, saying that this is acceptable about me and this is not acceptable about me. And when they grow up and when they are more career intentional, because the current generation which is growing up is far more exposed to the outside world than any other
Very true.
generation. Frankly, they are born with the mobile phones in their hand.
Absolutely. Too much of information. But like
Too
you
much
said,
of
like you said, we are sending so many signals to our next generation. To all the mothers out there, I know it sounds so difficult right now, but just remember everything that you're doing. Every time you are, staying strong, you are sending such a positive signal to your child, and they are picking up on it, and you're building a new generation which is so much stronger. So every time we feel so weak within ourselves, I think that thought helps. That every time I'm getting up, in spite of all the work pressure and the home pressure and managing everything, my child is seeing me as a superwoman and she's going to become one someday. So yeah, that thought helps.
that. But you know what? I'm a little concerned about the superwoman thingy. I'm really so concerned about the superwoman thingy, because sometimes you would have
Agreed.
seen the latest ad on Tanishq. I think. I mean, it literally says that when the society expects you, is it a expectation or is it a compliment? So I'm very cautious when I walk that line of superwoman, saying that I just want to be human. I don't want to be called a superhuman, frankly.
Yeah, that is where I think, we women should set our own expectations. Don't try to please society. That's why I say done is better than perfect. Society expects me to be perfect, but I'm right now happy with just getting things done because nobody is living my life right now. I know how difficult it is to get things done right now. So, my idea of superwoman is something that I have painted for myself, and every other woman should have her own idea of a superwoman. Okay,
Wow.
so what works for you? You are your own superwoman. There is no right, perfect, good way to become one.
Yeah, this is powerful, right? Have your own definition of how you would like to be called as a superwoman, and and the
Absolutely.
definition can vary from person to person depending on each journey, because each journey is different, upbringing
It's
is
me.
different, backgrounds are different, ecosystems are different,
Yeah,
nationality is
challenges are
different.
different. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, that's gonna also stay with me for a long time. So tell me, what kind of support system actually works? I mean, what kind of ecosystem that you have to set up for yourself? What's worked for you to just ensure that you are kind of walking the bridge, not falling down, not drowning, and just able to walk on.
I think, I had already been like for 11, 12 years in the industry before I became a mother. So something that helped me, which I did not realize at that point of time, was the amount of credibility you build. Initially, when you just join the workforce, you don't have many, obligations towards your family. So you have a lot of time and a lot of effort and energy that you can devote towards your work. So that credibility that you build at that time, that is kind of a capital which will pay off in the long run, and that is what helped me. So maybe I did not realize it at that time. So by support system, I would say that work hard like anything in your initial years when you have the time and energy for it, because the impressions that you're leaving on people is going to become your greatest asset later. They're going to remember the potential that you have shown, and that will help you in moments when perhaps you're not at your sharpest best. So that is one thing which helped me building that credibility in the initial years. And secondly, I would say at home, life is becoming easier with technology and a lot of support around. So have honest conversations both at home and at work. Communication is key. Set your expectations straight both at home and at work, and first be true to yourself. If you're true to yourself, if you've figured it out what I can and what I can't do, and make those expectations clear to your family and to your work people, I think that will help. So build credibility. That's going to help you in the long run. Set the right expectations. That is going to help you make your life easy. And ask for help. There are lots of people in similar situations like we are. Okay, there's no challenge I see that we are facing which is very unique to us. There are so many women out there who are having it tougher than I am. So every time you hear a person, if you go out there and reach out to those people, you will find so many tips and so many words of wisdom that's going to make your life easier. So ask for help, actively seek out help. Okay.
Hmm.
And when you're at your workplace, seek mentors. Okay, seek mentors who will help you, who will guide you. We kind of, women especially, I would say, we do not realize the power of networking and mentoring and coaching and having friends at workplace or outside even, or people from the same area of interest. That will help. So I would say that take those first few years to build your credibility, build your network. That's going to help you in your moments when you're slightly low or low on energy and momentum.
You'll have so many insights there. Ask for help, get mentors. It's okay to be vulnerable. And somehow, the two important things that you highlighted there was assertiveness. When you say communicate honestly and openly with your
Absolutely.
family and loved ones, and at the same time, authenticity, being true to yourself. It
Yes,
just indicates how much, what role emotional intelligence plays in the life of a woman. Somewhere I think women needed more than any other.
absolutely, absolutely. Because whether we like it or not, the our obligations at home are slightly more as compared to the male gender, and I don't mind that because we women are primarily nurturers. We have that nurturing instinct, so there are some things that we do very well. So that is there, and that's going to be there for quite some time. But I think the society is moving towards equality. But as of now, yes, I think EQ is something which is much more important to us. And I think something that women don't talk about and don't take very seriously is also their health part and the hormonal changes that we go through. Okay, so I think we have to become increasingly sensitive towards that also. And that is going to help us, make ourselves mentally stronger and healthier.
Hmm. Self care is the best care.
Self care is very important. Yes. Yes, self care is best care. If you don't take care of yourself, you can't take care of anybody else.
Yeah. So tell me, how do you work on improving your own emotional intelligence? How do you keep getting better and better in that skill for yourself?
I think a lot of times, especially after maternity, it's such a huge psychological adjustment. So something that helped me, yoga. Yoga is very calming. So I would recommend it to everyone that I come across. It literally changes your life. But more importantly, something that helped me at this time was having a group of people who were in a similar situation as I am. So every time I faced something, there was someone else who would say, "Yeah, yeah, I know, I also feel the same." Even if somebody didn't have a solution to my problem, they were empathetic, and that helped. So I tend to remain emotionally sane because I saw so many other women going through the same pain as I did, and I could see them on the other side that, okay, fine, they could get through it. I will also get through it. It's just a phase. So having that support group, that peer group helped. We have a lot of, mom group and working women group. So those
Hmm.
kind of networks, they help at this time. This helps you with your emotional health right now.
Yeah, this is one thing that we have always been talking about in leadership, because uh, decode inspired living, the thing that we represent, we always talk about we are not here to sell programs. That's not our space. We are here to create solutions. And one of the problems that we encounter whenever we speak to women, they always complain about two things. A, we don't have enough role models. That's one thing that they complain. And the other is they say that I want to be felt that I am not alone, and for that I need a powerful a group or a peer community to just help me, just as a backup, when I'm down, when I can just reach out to the group and say, hey, I'm having this challenge, has anybody cracked the code? And
Yeah.
literally, when you hear from that other person saying that this is how the code they have cracked, and then you feel, oh, it was not very difficult, right? I mean, if they can
Right.
do it, I can as well give it a try.
True. True.
So
Yeah, we
that,
need women out there that we can relate to. Absolutely.
yeah, and this is something that we have always heard from leaders, from women leaders who have reached the top, and that's one of been our sincere efforts in leadership, to actually create a whole system that is rigged in a woman's favor. No, men may not like this. But then literally, I mean, somewhere you have to make it a level playing ground, right? Because
True.
um, men don't have to go through maternity, and men
Yeah,
don't
true.
have to go through uh, the broken rung and so many other factors, that somewhere you
Absolutely.
have to create these opportunities for women. And that's been our sincere effort in leadership in these kind of interventions that we go up when we create solutions. So yeah. Okay, tell me something. How important is it for you, apart from a peer community? How important is it for you to have a coach or a mentor in this journey?
I think it's very important. It's like so important that I cannot emphasize the significance. It is almost vital. Okay, it is not something that you should have. It is
Yeah.
something that a woman should must have. Because as a woman, I would say our challenges are very unique. Okay, they're
Hmm.
very unique. They are some things, and there are some things which perhaps wouldn't have happened earlier to people, because the life of a woman keeps changing, her challenges keep changing, the ecosystem keeps changing. So having a mentor, somebody who has seen it all, or somebody who has better experience than we do,
Hmm.
kind of makes it easy for you. So I think for women it is all the more important to have mentors and coaches, because very often the kind of challenges that we face might be something that our spouses, or perhaps even our family members or our friends who are not in that phase of life will not understand. So you need a mentor, you need somebody who can guide you through the process. So it is absolutely vital for us to have it.
And still, why do you see that not many people have them? Is there something that blocks people from getting a mentor? Do they feel it's a waste of time? Or what do you
I
think,
think it's
according to
both
you, what's
ways.
the reason?
I think it's both ways, because, like I said, there is so much of responsibility that lies with a woman. So, a working woman who has reached the top, she perhaps might not have it in her bandwidth to be a mentor. Highly possible, okay. And somebody who's lower down in the hierarchy, perhaps she's either too shy. Like I said, we women have this issue that we don't go out and ask for help, or at times we are so bogged down by our current situation that we don't realize that having a mentor will help. So I think it has to work both ways. Somebody has to go and tell seniors that please take out your time, it is on to you to pull up the next generation of women leaders. And somebody has to tell the younger women folk as well that don't feel like you're alone in this thing. There are other women around as well who have gone through this and who can help you out. So seek mentors. So it has to be a two-way thing. We have to seek, and the other person has to be willing to help out. I think the primary reason is there is a gap on both the sides. I think women are not as available in mentoring, and women are not seeking out mentors also actively.
Okay. I asked you this question because this is again one of the significant things that we are trying to put in place. Availability of a peer community, that's one. The second is availability of mentors on a continuous 6-month journey, and availability of coaches, because coaching is different and mentoring is different. And still, many people don't understand the difference between the two. And this
True.
is our sincere effort to actually make available an entire ecosystem, literally. I mean, just put in the pieces like a jigsaw puzzle as to all the kinds of support that a woman would actually need in this journey, to keep going ahead, to keep marching ahead, and not come down because of any societal expectations, or lack of just because of the lack of a will to move ahead in a career.
Right.
Yeah, that was again something that I had in my mind. Okay, and also there has been one thing that I see. It's a limiting belief saying that I see more women hesitating to invest in themselves than men, because
Yeah, absolutely.
I am not worth it.
True.
Uh, that's
You know,
that's something. Yeah.
I think I read somewhere that women get promoted for performance while men can get promoted for potential as well. So this
Wow.
sounds very disappointing, but I would also say that we women do not invest in our potential. Okay, so like you said, we are not confident, we do not find ourselves worthy of it. I don't know what kind of a people pleasing syndrome does that stem from, but yes, we women have to own the task of building ourselves, both personally and professionally. If we need to enrich ourselves, and it is a very continuous learning kind of a process. And like you said, it will only happen when we see more role models, when there are more women out there who are talking about how they were investing in themselves and how it paid off. Okay, because
Hmm.
very often we women we shy away from investing in ourselves because we think, is it worth my time? Should I be focusing on something else right now? Should I
Hmm.
just keep to my work? So these the more people you see who have excelled on account of taking the right decisions, for instance, seeking out a mentor, taking time out to invest in themselves, the more you'll feel motivated. And I think we women folk need it more because there is so much of social conditioning that has happened over the years that has kind of made us like this. So
Hmm.
we need to actively seek out role models and get inspired by their decisions. So, like you said, having that peer group, the support network that you're trying to build, that will go a long way in making women take these decisions. It will make it easy for them to kind of take the right decision for themselves.
Yeah. Okay. So while we are talking, I see the comments pouring in from Preeti Joshi, from Dr. Geeta Sharma. Dr. Geeta, thank you so much. I think the way Tanu is just sharing her insights, it's just flowing. It's just flowing like a river completely. I mean, everything is so much within her that it's just coming out. And I think all those insights are so pertinent, so relevant, and so meaningful for all the leaders who are in a similar situation. But thank you, Dr. Geeta Sharma, for acknowledging that the insights that are being shared are useful. So thank you for that. Okay. So let me also catch up on another important aspect, on the external factors. What role do you think the external factors in an organization, like in terms of the biases or in terms of anything else in the organization, what role do you think that plays in pulling down a woman? How do we just be conscious of it? I'm not trying to overemphasize on it, because I truly believe that 80% of the world is created here in the minds of people. I truly believe that.
True.
And remaining 20% is what you see in the outside world. As to, there can be factors, right? It's not a perfect world. It's never been a perfect world. So how can that 20% of factors that pull a woman down look like?
Like I said, that there is this maternity wall kind of a thing. So when you return to work, especially after maternity, people, they even they start questioning your level of commitment. Okay, because
Hmm.
they assume that you have so many responsibilities back at home that you wouldn't be able to be the same person that you were there before, even though you might be giving the same hours at work. But there's this unconscious bias at the back of their mind that your priorities have shifted.
Hmm.
That's one bias which is there, and though it is that 20%, like you say, but that kind of has a huge bearing on the emotional health of a woman when she returns to work. What helps is being upfront about things. Sometimes what
Hmm.
happens when a person is talking to me, and I know where they're coming from. They're assuming that I will not have enough time, that I might not be able to
Hmm.
give it all to my work, and I kind of silently take it. That doesn't work. You kind of have to confront people, and by confrontation, I'm not making it sound like an argument or something, but you have to assure people that I'm still the same person. And like I said, something that wrong that I did was I downplayed the time that I spent at maternity. So every time now I tell every other woman who's going on maternity that when you come back, keep telling people that I have learned so much in the last 6 months that perhaps no training at some other fancy place would have helped. So that thing will help. I think going out there and assuring people where required that I'm the same person, and I have acquired better skills now, and I'll make a better manager now. That helps. And at the same time, I think organizations have a lot to do from their side as well. So a lot of affirmative action has to be taken by the organizations. You have to increasingly sensitize the managers, okay, and normalize motherhood. So I think
Hmm.
even though there is a lot of helpful ecosystem that exists, but a lot has to be
Hmm.
done. For instance, we are still not talking about. I mean, I'm sure it is happening in the private sector MNCs, but from where I come from, a public sector organization, and so many other manufacturing companies that I see. For instance, you might need a pumping room. Okay,
Hmm.
that might not be available in so many places. Like it's not available in my
Hmm.
organization right now. So we have to normalize motherhood. We have to normalize the conversation around it. Even there are some other biases which women face. For instance, when you are trying to hire a new person, you start thinking that if she will get married, she will move away, and her focus will shift, and those kind of things are always there. But I think it is up to us women also to go out there, seek more opportunities, and at the same time push the envelope for every other woman, push the agenda at your workplace. Every woman, every time you go out there and convince the world that you're giving your best and you're
Hmm.
doing a wonderful job, you're making it easy for the next woman who'll step into your shoes. So it is up to us, but again, organizations need to take a lot more affirmative action than what they're doing right now. And to begin with, I would say they need to sensitize people at senior positions as to what challenges of motherhood or challenges of being a woman feels like, be it menstrual leaves, be it maternity, be it any other life challenge that a woman goes through. I think people need to be sensitized about it. That conversation has to become more normalized, more natural, and more common at workplace. And it should not be seen as a benefit, or it should not be seen as something which is being given to women as a favor. It should be seen as an enabling factor which makes it possible for 50% of the people to contribute better. So we should not see any help that we are extending to this gender as something that you're doing as a favor. It is something which is making them better you're adding to their productivity. So organizations should invest in women like that. Rather than seeing it as a support, they should see it as an enabling mechanism to make women more productive. So
So
these
this
external,
reminds me. No, no,
yeah.
please continue.
No, no, I was just saying that yes, like you said, 80% is in your mind, but yes, in the 20% there are biases which we all are fighting every single day. But yes, the it's kind of decreasing now. It's not the same as it was before, but still there.
Hmm. This also reminds me of something that whenever we talk about women empowerment, right? It always goes hand in hand with another thing in the ecosystem, which is building men as allies. The
True.
ecosystem is incomplete if you just empower the woman to be better and better, and at the
Mm.
same time you don't do anything for the men to help them understand how they can support the woman better, because they are not going through the phases that a woman goes through in her life. And
Right.
with literally some women are working double shifts, and
Yes.
I'm reminded of this line: women are expected to work as if they have no home role to play, and they are expected to
They feel
do
like they don't have
do
a
the
job.
home role as if you don't have any work role to play.
True, true, true. And it's true for every woman, irrespective of their, social strata or something. I think to a certain extent, it is true for every woman. Sometimes, if you have a lot of resources to your disposal, it might make your things a bit easy. But like you said, there are so many expectations, so it's true for every woman. And men have to be sensitized. I think the new generation of men, they are kind of slightly more sensitive because they have their spouses, they have seen mothers who are working, so it has helped. But then, a lot has to be done. So that is where I think training and all can help,
Hmm.
helping men overcome their unconscious biases. That will help, and having more women at the top. The more
Hmm.
people who are there to talk about what it's like, I think that will make things easy.
Yeah, very true, very true. And Chaitanya here also writes a very important statement that we should always have a very the lens of equity, that I call it. It's just that it's always called diversity, equity, and inclusion. It is called DEI. Earlier it used to be just called diversity and inclusion, but now it is called diversity, equity, and inclusion. And that's a paradigm shift in the way you think about including all the people and making the culture more inclusive at a whole, as a whole in the organization. So Chaitanya, truly agree to whatever you are saying there. Okay. And I was also thinking of this advertisement while you were last saying, right? There was another advertisement which came up saying that, in your maternity, you're actually learning so many skills. The ad talked something like, where were you? What was this break in the CV? And the lady replied that I have been running a life boot camp. I don't remember the name of
Yeah,
the
I
product.
also have come across this advertisement, and it's very true. Okay, the kind of time management, delegation, planning, and everything that you learn during those 6 months, it's unprecedented, and the kind of transformation that you go through, unprecedented, absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. And literally why people shouldn't see it as a break as in the career. I mean, literally you're coming back with an upskilled version saying that this is my
Absolutely,
old version and this is my new version, and my
this is
new
better.
version 2.0 is much more better.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, that's so true. Okay, and here I'm going to just leave a small note for the audience saying that if you have any questions you have for Tanu Priya, please feel free to type in the comment section and we will take it up as and when the conversation progresses. We are not really keeping the questions for the last. So keep pouring in the questions and then we can keep addressing it as the conversation progresses further. In fact, that can become the conversation. We are in a flowy kind of a conversation to incorporate whatever you want to be, whatever you want to hear. Okay, now let me come to another important aspect in the ecosystem. So till now, what we have covered the 80%, which is the internal workings of a woman's brain. Then we have covered the 20%. What are the sort of biases that you generally see just for being aware, not for overemphasizing, but just for being aware. The third part is we have covered the importance of a peer community. The fourth part is the importance of coaches and mentors in your journey. Uh, and Now the next question for Tanu is on these lines. Whenever you are in your woman community network, what are what do they want more of? Apart from the ones that we have already mentioned, what do they want more of? Is there something that is still unaddressed or yet to be given by organizations, or what is it that they want more of?
Like I saw Chaitanya wrote in one of his comments that when you make things, I think women want that the world should not see any kind of a affirmative action being taken for them as some kind of
Hmm.
a making it easy for them. Okay, so I
Hmm.
think what women still want is that shift in mindset where the
Hmm.
world acknowledges that affirmative actions are being taken for making us more productive, and similar kind of efforts are taken for every other the section of the workforce. So we want that shift in mindset where people kind of see efforts being made for women, and I don't want people to make it easy for us.
Hmm.
Like I said, I don't want people to say that we have to make it easy for women in order for them to be there in the workforce. You don't have to make it easy for us. You have to make it, what should I say, flexible, adaptable. You have to adapt it to our needs. So when you
Hmm.
adapt something for someone, you don't necessarily make it easy. So I want the world to be a more flexible and a more adaptable place for women, and not an easy place for women. So I think more and more women are talking about that we don't want it easy, we want it more flexible. So that shift in mindset, I think, is something which is still not happening, which will happen perhaps in the future. Besides that, I think we have addressed already the need for mentors and the need for more role models. That is there. Uh, that is something obviously which all women are talking about. But yes, we don't want it easy. We want it more flexible. So that, I think, I've come across so many women who keep saying that nobody should see whatever is being done for us as something which is making our lives easy. It is just making it more suited and appropriate for our situation.
Okay, great. So let's take it one step forward and let's take a pragmatic step towards making this step of women to reach out to coaches and mentors more easily or more easier. What are some things that a woman should look for in a coach or a mentor whenever they think about embarking on a journey with a coach or mentor? The
I think
first few things.
if I was seeking a mentor, I would look for someone who has, experience, not necessarily too much of it, but slightly more experience than perhaps I do. Because I believe, if you walked the path of life a little longer than I have, you perhaps have more wisdom than I do. So definitely experience helps, but at the same time, somebody who has had a very diverse kind of experience, somebody who has seen the world from different lenses, who has built that EQ over time. So I would look for someone who has more experience, more diverse nature of experience, and somebody who has risen from it all, who appears to be a better version of themselves
Wow.
on account of those experiences. So if I'm seeking a mentor, I look for a person with that kind of a background, and
A
obviously
better
somebody.
version of themselves.
Yes,
Yeah.
and somebody who's inclined to help, because at times you have a lot of wisdom, but you don't really know how to impart. So I look for someone who's enthusiastic about mentoring, who is kind of taking it onto themselves that I want to make the lives of the next generation of women better. So if I'm seeking a mentor, I'll seek someone who's very enthusiastic about mentoring.
Okay. So, for all the women who are listening to this conversation right now, if you have to take your first step towards finding a coach or a mentor in your journey, please follow Tanu Priya's recommendation of what are the things that you need to look for in a coach or mentor, because things can't get more practical than this. We are not talking theory, we are talking about live issues that you face, and probably solutions to the issues that you face. What are the things that you should be looking out in a coach or a mentor? So thank you for that bit. Okay, then what else would you like to cover, Tanu? I mean, all the insights have been so heartening that I never asked this kind of a question to any of the guest speakers before. But then I would love to ask this question to you. What else is there in your heart, or what else is there in your mind that you would like to
I
talk
would say,
about or share?
I have a daughter. If I had something to tell her, I want her to be more risk taking. I think we women are somehow very risk averse. Okay, and we don't take enough risks. So and we don't by taking risk. I'm not just saying that you take random radical decisions. You should take calculated strategic decisions, but do get out of your comfort zone and ask for things. Claim credit where it's due. Very often, we are very easy, we are very comfortable with doing all the work and somebody else getting the credit for it, be it at home or outside. So give credit where it's due, but it's equally important to claim credit where it's due. So and take more risks, and more importantly, let's build a sisterhood. Okay, so that is something which is going to help us all. Let us all build this sisterhood, which will make our lives easier, both at home and outside. So, if I had to focus on a few things, perhaps in my life going forth, I would focus on building, this sisterhood, building a network of women folk around me who are going to stand by me. Not just women, men also out there. I think lots of men are so, emotionally. What should I say? They're so emotionally, kind of intelligent right now. They're more sensitive to things than they were ever before. So that is, I would actively seek out such people and build my network with them. And perhaps going forth, I will take calculated risks at in my career more, because I think that helps, that pays off in the long run when you go out there and get out of your comfort zone. And upskilling is something which we should invest in ourselves, but at the same time, I think nothing upskills you better than diversity of experiences.
Hmm.
So seeking new experiences is something that we all should be consciously doing, that deliberately seeking out new experiences.
Got it. Okay. And we have a question from Chaitanya. It says, "How would you play? How would you plan your work when you play your work or plan your work? I don't know. Plan your work when you face such a situation. What would be your recommendation to people who go through this?"
Oh, I think he had something before that. You grow in front of your seniors, you sometimes outrank some of them.
Okay.
I think, yeah, I think it's a question for everyone, but yeah, I think, look, what happens is perhaps we are all humans. So if on the journey of life you kind of rub people's ego the wrong way, it can happen. Some people are sensitive, they tie a lot of importance and identity to the work they do. So when you outrank the people that you've grown in front of, first of all, accept that it's okay for the person to feel slightly hurt, perhaps their ego is bruised. So accept that the reaction coming from the person is absolutely normal. Maybe I myself in their place would have reacted in a similar way. So rather than getting hurt, rather than playing victim, be the bigger person and understand where the person is coming from. And the next step would be, to address it in a more mature manner. I would have a frank conversation with the person, because somebody who has been my senior someday, and perhaps if I happen to outrank them, I'm sure that person had a lot to do with my growth that led to this outranking, perhaps. So I would be more grateful, and I would be more vocal about my gratitude towards that person. I let that person know that I would have been here had it not been for you. So you did an
True.
amazing job somewhere. You made a person grow from A to B. So I think acknowledging that person's emotion, giving them that due respect that it's okay to feel this way. I would have also done the same. And then, expressing your emotions in a more mature manner, like acknowledging the role that they have played in this, your growth of yours will help. And I believe everybody is a very good person deep down. Okay. So if you address the situation in such a manner, I think people understand. It can be difficult, but I'm sure people see through.
Now, you know what? I'm convinced that all people need to undergo emotional intelligence workshops, because again,
True.
you highlighted on two important elements of emotional intelligence. One is empathy. When you are acknowledging the other person's emotion, when you understand from their perspective, why is the other person getting upset, why is the other person getting hurt. And the second
Right.
part is you're not stopping yourself at empathy, you're moving one step ahead to compassion. What am I
Yes.
doing about it?
Yes.
What is the conversation that I'm having with that person?
Mhm.
uh, okay, so Chaitanya says excellent suggestions. I can right now think of at least 20 people who needed to listen to this.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
You put it very beautifully. We need to move from empathy to compassion. Absolutely. Everybody needs to, work on increasing their emotional quotient for sure.
Yeah. So where that came from is, I'll tell you. So basically I'm a neuroscience geek, and there was this course that I once did from Google, Search Inside Yourself Leadership Institute, which when you talk about the normal EQ model, right? It talks about your self awareness, self regulation. It talks about motivation. It talks about social skills, relationship management skills, and all of that. Inside relationship management skills, people generally talk about empathy, but what we don't, I've not seen many people make this shift from empathy to compassion. I can be extremely empathetic about the level of poverty in my country. I mean, I can
What
be
do you think?
extremely empathetic about it. But does that prompt me or encourage me to give, say, a monthly contribution of 20 rupees to
True.
solve the problem of poverty in my own limited way? I'm not saying donate like hundreds and millions of rupees or lakhs of rupees that you may have, but then are you even doing your tiniest bit? The tiniest bit, apart from just
Right.
understanding, oh, such a level of poverty in the country, yeah, really a bad
Absolutely.
state to be in. I'm not talking about sympathy again, but yeah, cognitive empathy is different, affection empathy is different, affective empathy is different, and then compassion is completely different. Literally in the brain, right, you have different parts of your brain which are bulbing out when you are empathetic and when you are compassionate. It is that different, and
Right.
somewhere people just mix up the two, saying that yeah,
Right.
yeah, both are the same, both are the same.
Yeah, I know. But these kind of information and knowledge is something which is still very limited to people. Okay, and I think this has to be kind of promoted at workplace and perhaps in the education system altogether. People need to be more emotionally intelligent.
Yeah, it's becoming like the number one skill actually. Right now, I'm just thinking as we
Absolutely.
are talking, saying that in the ecosystem that we are creating, we should really plug in emotional intelligence to everybody in the ecosystem, whoever has any role to play, be it men as allies or be it for women empowerment or anybody in the system. I just think emotional intelligence 2.0,
Absolutely.
something
It's a must for
something
everyone.
like that. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, let's check if any other questions are coming in, or I will just go up with my next question. But I'm just being compassionate enough in doing my bit in allowing the audience to ask questions. Okay, so I'm going to go with my next question. I generally wait for 30 seconds and 30 seconds is done. So I'm going to go with my next question. Um, Role model women leaders, when they are so few, like literally generally the number of women, they are so few, how do you think this whole thing can become a movement like what we are creating right now? I was just giving Tanu an example that in rural areas, right, when you go to a store and ask for washing powder or something with which they wanted to wash clothes, they don't say give me washing powder, they say surf, or give me surf, or give me rin, which means it's almost synonymous to the
Hmm.
generic product or community, or just like how we say let's uber it. because literally
Right.
now that has become the brand name for the service. So like that, what do you think all of us need to do together to make lead hership into a movement and not just a program, not just an intervention, not just an ecosystem? If you have to make it into a movement, what is something that each one of us in our own individual capacity commit to?
I think, I think people commit to things when they see something in it for them. So, first
Hmm.
of all, that realization that this is something that is going to benefit me, that has to happen. Women have to see this as something which can help make their lives better. And only when they realize that, and that is where emotional intelligence and everything else comes into being, and all the mentoring and everything that we've spoken about earlier kind of makes an impact. So, once you realize that, yes, I need to do something for myself, and this is one of those things which is going to make my life easier and make me as a person and as a professional better, that is when perhaps you commit to it. So I think first would be dawning of that realization, and second would be owning that you're not just an individual. As women, we owe something to
Hmm.
our gender. Okay, so owning that responsibility that you have towards your gender would be the second step that will help us driving this agenda further. So this becomes a movement only when we own ourselves and we own our responsibility towards our sisters. So that's what's going to help in the long run.
Like creating a sys code like a bro code.
Right,
One of the
absolutely.
speakers had
Long
mentioned
view.
this
Yes,
earlier. Yeah,
yes.
okay. Making the sys code infectious. That is what the speaker had said actually.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's long due. We need to have that camaraderie within ourselves. Yes.
yeah. And I think you hit upon one more important thing is how do you evangelize, because when you own something you make it a part of yourself. How do you evangelize it and not just give lip service to it? Because I myself have seen in many companies diversity, equity and inclusion is merely a lip service where we run behind
True.
targets,
Uh,
metrics. I'm
yes.
not saying those are not needed, but generally what's
Yeah, we
beyond the
stop there.
metrics?
Yeah, we
Yeah,
stop
we
there
stop
otherwise.
there.
Yes.
Yeah, what's beyond the metrics, what's beyond the dashboards, what are the anecdotal evidences saying, what are the experiences saying? That is data. Just the number is not data. Employee
Right.
experience is data.
I
So
think people will take it upon, people will voluntarily get involved in these activities if they perhaps develop that kind of a, insight that these, when I mentor someone, when I coach someone, or when I'm there for someone just for the sake of it, I'm not
yeah,
just doing somebody else some good, I'm doing good to myself as well. We are all pushing each other's agenda when we do this. Every time a woman is helping another woman, you're making lives of not just yourself and the other woman, but lives of so many other women better. Every time a woman rises at a workplace, she has become a role model for 10 other women. 10 other women will be inspired. So we are all doing this for the greater good. So once you
hmm,
associate with that greater good and you realize that it is on to you to push the agenda for everyone, I think we will not see it as some kind of a, like you said, we needn't evangelize it. It will become something that is perhaps, innate to us. We see it as some kind of an intuitive responsibility that we have towards our own gender. So we have to see this in that light, that this is something that is making life of all the women, including myself, better.
excellent. And with that, I'm going to make that as a closing statement because I don't think that there can be a better ending to this conversation, because literally it's like the climax has been hit with saying that everybody need to do their bit. And it's not because of
Right.
altruistic reasons. It's not because
Yes.
of that. Literally, with every single message that you communicate, either verbally or non-verbally, with your actions or without your actions, when you accept something to go by, when you actually needed to do something about it, it's a message that you are passing on to the next generation and also to the people around
Right.
you, saying that you can take this for granted.
Right.
And that is something we must refrain from doing. Take conscious
Absolutely.
action, practice
True.
conscious leadership. Again, we keep
Yes.
saying this
That
too many
is
times.
conscious leadership. Right.
Conscious leadership, I mean, literally now we have been evangelizing that for in practically each of our interventions. Take that conscious call. Don't run on
Right.
autopilot.
True.
Don't just see what's happening and allow it to pass. See if anything
Totally.
needs to be changed in that situation and take that call. Maybe whatever you're doing the first time may not really give you the desired result, but nevertheless you took a step, right? And that's
Yes,
good
you
enough.
moved a step further. Yes, it's a step in the right direction at least.
Absolutely. So, yes, with that, we are going to end the conversation. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining in. I loved this conversation from the bottom of my heart, and it was very enriching, enlightening, and I'm sure
Same here.
so many insights have been dropped in there that if people can just pick up like 2 or 3 insights and just work on them, I think they will also go a long way. So, with that, we are closing the conversation for today. We'll meet you again with another enlightened guest speaker next Thursday, 7 p.m. Thank you so much, Tanu, for being here.
Thank you.
It was truly a pleasure just hearing you talk with just the flow of the ideas that you were sharing in, and with so much of soul in it. I mean, it had a spirit. So thank
Thank
you
you.
so
Same
much.
here. Same here. It was an absolute pleasure. Thank you. Thank you for having me.